Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into the world of Palworld and talking all about armor. Armor is so crucial in this game. It's what's going to keep you alive when things get tough, whether you're facing off against wild creatures or braving harsh environments. With the new Daybreak update, the addition of powerful new weapons might make you think twice about your setup. But trust me, the right armor can make a huge difference. From boosting your defense to helping you withstand some of the nastiest enemies, your armor is like your best friend in Palworld. So let's break down what armor to look out for and how you can upgrade it to become a true survivor in this crazy world. Alright, so here's the deal. Armor in Palworld isn't just about looking cool, though that's definitely a plus. Each piece of armor has unique defensive capabilities, and knowing what's best for the situation can totally change your gameplay. We're going to take a close look at the tier list, from the lightweight plasteel armor to the latest options added in the Daybreak update, and discuss which ones are worth crafting, upgrading, and adding to your collection. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what armor to aim for to give you the edge over your enemies. Ready to boost your defense and survive longer? Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video, and I'm ranking armors in Palworld. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The armors in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: cold resistant metal armor, heat resistant metal armor, metal helm, mega shield, thermal undershirt, and heat resistant undershirt. Alright, let's talk armor. No, not the heavy duty I am invincible kind, but the B tier armor in Palworld that's still pretty solid for your mid-game adventures. First up, we've got the cold resistant metal armor and the heat resistant metal armor. These guys aren't the top of the line, but they definitely hold their ground when it comes to keeping you safe. Both offer decent HP and defense, which is a big help when you're up against tougher enemies. The only downside? You won't be able to easily find their legendary versions since they don't drop from alpha bosses. So, while they're great in the moment, their stronger forms can feel a bit out of reach. Now, let's talk about the metal helm. This is a classic, simple headpiece that serves its purpose. You'll find it useful for surviving those mid-game skirmishes, offering some decent protection for your noggin. But here's the catch: the legendary metal helm isn't exactly going to blow your mind. It's weaker than the refined metal helm, so unless you're after a good crafting challenge, you might want to skip on this one in favor of something better. Moving on to shields, because who doesn't love a good defense, right? Enter the Mega Shield. This thing's a beast compared to common shields, boasting over twice the powers of the basic ones. If you want to make sure your defense is on point, the Mega Shield's a solid choice for blocking incoming attacks and staying in the fight longer. It's not the flashiest shield, but it gets the job done, and sometimes that's all you need. Lastly, we've got the thermal undershirt and heat resistant undershirt. If you're tired of running into areas that freeze or roast you alive, these will help. The thermal undershirt is perfect for keeping the cold at bay without needing a heat source, and it stacks with other cold resistance items. Similarly, the heat resistant undershirt is your best friend when you're trekking through those scorching volcanoes. With both shirts, you're doubling down on resistance, ensuring that extreme environments won't put you at too much of a disadvantage. These armor pieces may not be the flashiest, but they'll definitely keep you alive in the roughest climates. The armors in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right: cold resistant, refined metal armor, heat resistant refined metal armor, refined metal helm, giga shield, ring of freight pole 1, and pendant of diligence. Alright, let's talk armor in Palworld, and I promise it's not as dull as it sounds. We're diving into some of the A tier armor and gear, and while they're not the absolute best, they definitely hold their own in the game and are perfect for getting you through the mid game without breaking a sweat. These armors and accessories are a step up from the basics, but they won't have you grinding for hours just to get them. Let's break it down. First up, we've got the cold resistant and heat resistant refined metal armor. Now, these aren't quite as powerful as their Pal Metal counterparts, but what they lack in raw stats, they make up for in accessibility. They're easier to craft, so you can get them sooner than the Pal Metal versions, and don't sleep on those legendary versions. With 800 HP and 288 defense, they still pack a punch and will keep you protected through some tough encounters. Then there's the refined metal helm. Think of it as a smaller, more approachable cousin to the Pal Metal helm. It's got fewer stats, sure, but the fact that you can craft it earlier in the game makes it a great option if you're looking for something sturdy without waiting for the late game grind. And if you go for the legendary refined metal helm, you're looking at 400 HP and 160 defense, which actually beats out the common PAL metal helm. Pretty solid, right? Now, if you're after the perfect shield, look no further than the Giga Shield. It's the third strongest shield in the game, and while it's not the absolute top tier, it will still hold up in most situations. It's also pretty accessible for players in the mid game, requiring just a level 28, so it's definitely worth picking up when you're getting into tougher battles. And for some extra utility, let's talk about the Ring of Freight 1 and the Pendant of Diligence. The Ring of Freight boosts your carrying capacity, which means you can haul more loot around, and the best part, it stacks with other Rings of Freight. As for the Pendant of Diligence, it's all about work speed. Sure, it's not going to make you a powerhouse in battle, but it will definitely help you speed up your crafting and resource gathering without needing to pump stats into work speed. It's a nice little efficiency boost for the more strategic players out there. So, while these A tier items might not be the flashiest or the most powerful, they're solid picks that will serve you well. Whether you're trying to stay protected or simply manage your resources better, these pieces of gear are perfect for helping you power through the game without too much hassle. The armors in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, lightweight plasteel armor, cold resistant plasteel armor, heat resistant plasteel armor, plasteel armor, plasteel helmet, ultra shield, cold resistant PAL metal armor, heat resistant PAL metal armor, PAL metal helm, hyper shield, attack pendant, and ring of neutral resistance. Alright, let's talk armor in Palworld. And I promise this isn't your usual here's a list of stuff rundown. Instead, let's dive into what makes these armors actually worth your time and which ones should be your go-to when you're out there fighting the good fight. First up, we have the lightweight plasteel armor. This one's like the Swiss Army knife of armor. You get the same HP and defense bonuses as the cold and heat resistant versions, but with a twist. It boosts your carrying capacity. That extra space? Major game changer when you're out there scavenging or grabbing loot. It's pretty much an all-around winner for any situation. Then, we've got the cold and heat resistant plasteel armor. These two are tied for the highest HP and defense values in the game, which makes them absolute powerhouses. If you're heading into extremely cold or hot environments, you'll definitely want to wear these. Unless of course you've got those fancy thermal or heat resistant undershirts. In that case, the armor might not be a must, but otherwise, these are your go-to choices. If you're looking for something a bit more standard, the plasteel armor is where it's at. It's way better than the PAL metal armors, but it falls a little short when compared to the SS tier options. However, don't think it's trash. It's great at lower levels, though it tends to get outclassed once you level up a bit. But hey, it'll serve you well early on. Moving on to plasteel helmets. These babies give great protection and can act as your trusty backup armor before you hit the big leagues with hexalite armor. It's the kind of gear that will keep you safe, but also won't break the bank when you're in need of that sweet extra defense. Now, if you're in need of a shield, you've got a few options. The ultra shield is one of the best you'll find. It's strong, it's reliable, and it's got a high defensive value, so don't hesitate to hold on to it for a while. Even as you reach late game, the advanced shield might eventually outshine it, but the ultra shield's still super solid. Speaking of shields, there's also the hyper shield, which comes in as the third strongest in the game. It's no slouch, offering up 1045 shield points. Sure, it's not quite the ultimate shield, but if you're not there yet, this one will have your back and protect you from some serious damage. If you're feeling like you want to power up your attacks, the attack pendant is the way to go. It boosts your attack stat when equipped, but here's the thing. Raising attack isn't always the priority. If your defense and HP are solid, this pendant is nice, but it's not a game changer. Still, it's an easy equip for those extra damage moments. Finally, let's talk about the Ring of Neutral Resistance. This one's a little tricky because it's all about timing. If you know you're going up against the right pal, this ring can be a lifesaver. It's part of a set of elemental rings, each designed to help you resist specific types of damage. Plus, it's dropped by alpha bosses, so no crafting needed. Just hunt and you'll be good to go. And there you have it. These are some of the top tier armor and accessories in Palworld that will help you survive and thrive no matter the environment or battle. What's your go-to armor setup? Let me know in the comments and I'll catch you in the next one. The armors in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, lightweight hexalite armor, cold resistant hexalite armor, heat resistant hexalite armor, hexalite helmet, hexalite armor, advanced shield, multi-climate undershirt, life pendant, and defense pendant. Alright, let's get into some serious armor talk today, and trust me, if you're out there in Palworld trying to stay alive and thrive, you'll want to hear about these S+ tier armors and accessories. These bad boys are game changers, and they'll seriously amp up your survivability when things get a little too wild out there. First up, let's talk about the lightweight Hexalite armor. Now, this one is really special. It's essentially a variant of the classic Hexalite armor, but with one major difference: the carrying capacity. If you're the kind of player who needs to lug around a ton of gear, then this is your go-to armor. The best part? You can pair it up with the +2 multi-climate undershirt to not only keep you comfortable in both heat and cold, but also increase your resistance to both extremes. It's versatility on a whole new level. Now, speaking of Hexalite armor, we can't ignore the cold-resistant Hexalite armor and heat-resistant Hexalite armor. These two armors are tied with the classic Hexalite when it comes to HP and defense, which makes them absolute powerhouses. They're more essential if you want to explore some of the more extreme areas of the game. You'll need to use them with the appropriate thermal or heat-resistant undershirts to make sure you're covered no matter what crazy weather you face. These armors are as tough as they come, and they'll keep you safe from whatever the game throws at you. Speaking of strength, the Hexalite helmet is the real crown jewel for your headgear. If you've been running around with that flimsy plasteel helmet, it's time for an upgrade. The Hexalite helmet is, hands down, the strongest head armor in the game. It'll provide you with all the protection you need to stay safe, even in the harshest battles. Your head will thank you. But wait, I know some of you are out there looking for the absolute best of the best, right? Well, the N-Hexalite armor is what you're after. It's the strongest armor in the game, bar none. We're talking top tier stats that will have you tanking damage like a pro. The N-Hexalite armor still holds its own, but let's be real, it's kind of been overshadowed by its newer, more specialized variants. Still, if you're rocking the N-Hexalite, you're definitely on the winning side. Now, let's talk about shields for a second. The advanced shield is ridiculous in the best way possible. If you've been struggling to stay alive while trying to block attacks, the advanced shield has got your back with a massive 1800 shield points. That's a lot of protection. Whether you're facing off against hordes of enemies or just trying to survive in the toughest areas, this shield is your ultimate safety net. And for those of you who really like stacking up those buffs, the multi-climate and undershirt is your friend. It provides resistance to both heat and cold, which is a lifesaver in a game like Palworld where the environments can change on a dime. But don't stop there. The +2 multi-climate undershirt is even better. It offers extra resistance, and when paired with light armor, you'll have both heat and cold covered. Talk about a perfect setup for any adventure. Lastly, let's not forget the life pendant and defense pendant. These accessories are like your little power-ups. The life pendant adds some extra health to keep you in the fight longer, and it stacks so you can double down on the benefits. Similarly, the defense pendant boosts your defense and also stacks, making you even tougher the more you collect. When you stack these with your armor, you're basically turning yourself into an unkillable tank. So, there you have it. With these S+ tier armors and accessories, you'll be ready to take on whatever Palworld has in store for you. Whether you're exploring the toughest areas, facing fierce enemies, or just looking to be as tough as possible, these gear pieces will keep you safe and strong. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.